Suppose you are standing before a judge. Your liberty is on the line. Your most powerful weapon is not your attorney in this case, but an artificial intelligence chatbot. That is precisely what occurred in Wisconsin, as Benjamin Lampre opted to present his DUI case on the basis of artificial intelligence. What began as a mere misconception on math evolved to one of the most outrageous moments in the courtroom ever filmed. It is not only about the wrong of an individual man, but a rising question. Can AI truly comprehend the law, or will it kill you in its attempt to do so?
Again, you understand that I'm not bound to follow any recommendation, and that would include following the IDIP guidelines.
Yes.
I could sentence you all the way up to the maximum possible penalty, again, if I thought it was warranted. You understand that?
Yes.
Do you have any questions for your attorney or the court before we proceed?
Sorry.
It had started on June 19th, 2023, a night that Benjamin Lampre would not forget, yet for the wrong reasons. He had a couple of drinks too many in a local Wisconsin bar where he persuaded himself that he was in good condition to drive. He believed he felt sober like so many other people before him. However, the red and blue flashing lights in his rearview mirror told otherwise. Upon being pulled over by the police, they could immediately see the slurred speech, the glassy eyes, and the faint smell of alcohol. A bad beginning. The officer requested him to get out of the car, and Lampre stumbles. The breathalyzer test was followed. The figure on the little digital display was 0.221, almost 3 times the legal limit of 0.08. That was no light matter, particularly considering that it was his third OWI, operating while intoxicated, violation. Anybody, most people, in his situation would have called an attorney and asked to have mercy, but not Benjamin. He had something else in mind. He would rather argue with science as opposed to admitting that he had been drinking. There was no way that the machine was right in his mind.
Did you review the criminal complaint with your attorney? And it has all of those facts that says what happened that day from the officer's perspective and from your perspective, because you said, I only had 1 or 2 beers, which we know isn't factually true.
No, I had 0. I had drinking the night before.
So then you drank a lot more than 1 or 2 beers the night before.
I had a six-pack of 16 ounces and a 16-ounce.
And in the era of artificial intelligence, he believed he had the ultimate backup, an artificial intelligence chatbot. He had typed his numbers into it, and the answer of the bot was weird and strangely reassuring. It informed him that the decimal points could have been miscalculated. Lampre took that as gospel. He felt that he had found a loophole that was mathematical and could prove his innocence. What he failed to know is that this so-called AI math defense would be the first in courtroom history to actually leave a mark, albeit unfavorably. And what did the AI actually say to him, and how did it make him think he was not guilty? The AI argument begins. Benjamin was sitting in his laptop typing nervously before the hearing. He did not need the recommendation of his attorney, so he preferred something that seemed to be a more intelligent choice, an AI chatbot. It could have been ChatGPT or any other legal assistant that was going to provide the answer to a complex question in real time. The simple question that Benjamin raised was, so what would happen should my BAC be 0.221 compared to the legal limit of 0.08? The AI provided a response that is full of mathematical words and comparisons based on decimals. But there was a problem. It made him even more puzzled instead of making it clear. It estimated the distance in number of thousands and hundreds, meaning that there was a difference so insignificant that Benjamin believed that, perhaps, it was not that bad. He had made himself believe that the breathalyzer had overpolarized the results. To him, 0.221 expressed in 1,000th was not the same as 0.08 expressed in hundredths.
Any questions?
Just one. It's just kind of a math question. I just want to know if it's fictional or fact.
Math is usually not fiction. Why it's math.
And yeah, so I'd just like to be explained, like, how the math works. So I'm pretty good at math.
You want me to get a math professor in here to explain it? Because I'm not a mathematician.
That's what he said.
That he's not a mathematician because he's not. Because quite honest, we go to law school, so we don't have to do math. But we have to do math in our job. What's your question?
Just to know if this is fictional or factual.
I don't know what this is.
Would you like me to?
No, what is this, Mr. Keene?
I think it's great. The issue, and it's been up with Ms. Anderson, is he had a question about the grams per 100 milliliters,
Dude,
And
that's a scientific question. You can call up the scientists or the lab analysts that do that. I'm not in charge of that. And the legislature makes up the laws. I'm in charge of following and enforcing the laws.
Okay.
So what's your question? You think that you were below the limit, above the limit, beyond the limit, how they came up with the limit?
According to this, I was not above.
Okay, and that's like a AI chatbot thing, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Maybe it's wrong.
Yeah, it is.
An AI chatbot?
But
Are we using artificial intelligence?
it's just that I was measured in thousands, and the law goes by hundreds.
The sound of the explanation given by the AI was good enough to believe. Therefore, it was this artificial intelligence that was making him walk into the court in good faith that the machine had just fixed him up to be embarrassed. He claimed that the mathematics out of his test was incorrect. The law had misinterpreted the decimal. However, when he began exposing this logic of AI, the participants of the courtroom looked at each other with bewilderment. He thought, after all, that scientists, engineers, and doctors across the world used AI systems. Well, can it be bad? He said. However, when the hearing commenced, he was soon to learn that AI can speak intelligently and be utterly mistaken at the same time. Wait and have a listen to what the judge will say. It is savage. At that moment, the judge heard AI chatbot. The trial court was still when the hearing was commenced by the judge Melissa Mogen. She had encountered many odd defenses in her line of work before, including those of the so-called sovereign citizens and those of the conspiracy theorists, but nothing this quite unusual. Benjamin Lampre was standing with his head held high, a printed paper in his grasp which was teeming with what appeared to be mathematical formulae and AI-written descriptions. He gave a nod of confidence when the judge asked questions that asked whether he had anything to say. Yes, Your Honor. In my opinion, my BAC reading is mathematically wrong, he said. That drew the notice of everybody, and there was the time that history was made. He said, I had an AI chatbot assist me in analysis of data. The room went silent. Even his own attorney stood still, half breathing. The judge looked twice, not knowing whether he had heard right. You implied that an AI chatbot informed you of this? She said. Yes, said Benjamin seriously. It said that the decimals are subject to interpretation and the machine must have misread my results. The judge sighed deeply. Mr. Lampre, she thought, it is a courtroom and not a computer lab. Since that time, the trial was not conducted as a court hearing but as a math lesson in life. Judge Mogen waited in his turn carefully, and then he proceeded to tell me that decimals do not change under interpretation, but they have fixed values. But Benjamin continued to interrupt, as it was the chatbot that knew better. All the people in the courtroom, the clerks, the officers, were watching the scene become funny instead of grave. The judge felt no anger. She felt confused. At the end of it, she knew that she was not presiding over a drunk driving case. She was observing the crash of technology and human misconception. Her lesson to him will leave you wondering what AI is doing to justice as such. The math meltdown. The ensuing discussion was very much sitcom-like. Benjamin started explaining decimals like a scientist, that is, his reasoning was exactly the opposite. He demanded that his 0.221 BAC did not appear to be 3 times the limit since the figures did not appear large. According to him, the meaning of thousands was something less threatening compared to the meaning of hundreds.
I'm just saying, anytime you put a numeral behind the decimal, like 1 numeral behind the decimal is a tenth, 2 numerals behind the decimal is a hundredth,
Yep.
3 numerals behind a decimal is 1,000.
Yep, I know math.
Okay, and 1,000 is 10 times less than 100.
Well, let's cut that off, okay? You blew a 0.22 with a PBT.
221.
Or 0.221, okay? So let's say we'll cut off the 1, because that's what math does. You get to cut off certain things. So you were 0.22. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt. No more with that 1, that thousandth, gone. So you blew a 0.22. But lab came back and said, guess what? We ran his blood, which is more accurate. And it gave us a better truth of what happened. And it was 0.19. It's 0.08 in Wisconsin to be legally intoxicated and operate. So you get it now? You understand now?
I don't understand how 1,000 is 100.
I cut it off. I agree with, I'll give you the benefit. I cut that off. It's 0.22. It's 0.22.
No, if there's 3 numerals, because if it was
Mr. Renicky, I'd love to have a jury trial because it sounds like he doesn't understand the science and he wants to have a lab analyst here. Is that right, Mr. Keene? Is that what I'm hearing? He wants to have a jury trial because we can facilitate that next week.
I'm just saying what math.
I had a jury trial come up, not next week, the week after. We can get a jury trial. Is that what you want?
Judge Mogen endeavored to halt him, but he was bent on it. Considering it correctly, he said, 0.221 in thousandths is really less than 0.08 in hundredths. The judge rubbed her temples. Mr. Lampre, said she, a thousandth is not bigger, but less. 0.221 is not less than 0.08. He shook his head. That's not what the AI said. There was a muffled laughter in the courtroom. The stenographer himself had difficulty keeping a straight face. What was being taken as a serious court process had become a mathematical disaster. The judge was at one point forced to stop the session after Benjamin continued attempting to illustrate his theory using hand gestures and drawing decimals in the air. It was too agonizing to know. He believed his AI more than in reality. To him, the AI was more intelligent than everybody in the room, including the lab technicians that tested his blood and the judge who had heard hundreds of OWI cases. However, it was not about math, but it was about blind faith in a machine. Benjamin was not only opposing science, but also the idea of human expertise. When it ended, the judge came to the realization that it was not only numbers, it was concerning the speed with which AI misinformation would transform an ordinary case into a debacle. However, it was not merely a failure in math, but it was an AI disaster looming. The AI miscalculation. The greatest irony of it all was that the AI chatbot created by Benjamin was not all bad, just that it was dangerous. The bot explanation had mathematical sense on its own, but was not taken into account with regard to the scientific backdrop. It did not appreciate that blood alcohol content, BAC, is a standardized measurement and is not subject to being interpreted. This is how the chatbot went wrong. Instead of taking the numbers 0.221, 0.08, then comparing them as abstract decimals, such as comparing 0.00221 and 0.0008. It was not applied to practical meaning. It was therefore not explaining that the BAC already considers them in the readings taken up, even though it referred to the thousandths and hundreds. The tone of the AI sounded self-assured to a layman such as Benjamin. The explanation sounded scientific and the argument uncontroversial. The problem? AI doesn't know when it's wrong. So Benjamin counted on the bot rather than his attorney, rather than chemistry, rather than the law itself. He thought that the machine noticed something that humans did not notice, a system defect. In actual sense, he had a 0.221 BAC that implied that he was nearly 3 times the legal drinking limit impaired. The AI was not lying, but it had lied by omission. That is the risk of too much use of technology. AI is able to crunch, but it does not have the human ability to use that data in a proper way. The judge later referred it out, citing, "This explains why we have not yet eliminated human lawyers." The case of Benjamin was a warning on how far artificial intelligence could go in implementing justice in the real world. You will be aghast at what happened when the judge eventually lost her temper.
You can have a trial if you want.
I am so great to have a trial. I love having trials, especially when the lab analyst comes, and especially when then it completely opens up to the maximum penalties. That's great and fine with me. Is that what you wish to do, and have a lab analyst up here to explain all of the scientific reasoning behind the calculations and behind their testing?
Just take me to jail. Can I just go to jail and I'll give you this copy?
I don't need the copy.
Okay, and then just so give me the knowledge, because I like math. And
here's what you can do to gain knowledge. Call up a lab analyst, have them explain it to you. Because that's what happens in a jury trial. And I hear it. It goes on for hours.
I'm not trying to
hours.
piss you off. Just take me to jail. I'm fine with that. I have the money, finally, at the last moment. You've been very giving, lenient with me, and gave me extensions. You're fair, and I'm here, and I'll go to jail.
The judge loses patience. Judge Melissa Mogen had been attempting to remain casual for almost 20 minutes. She had heard Benjamin play the same game of going round and round his argument about his math logic that was based on AI, as though it were some such legal loophole that none were aware of. But at last, she could no longer bear it. Her voice was sharp and weary, and she leaned forward. "Mr. Lampre, your case is lousy," she said. There was a thunderstruck silence in the courtroom. She too appeared to be surprised at how crass she was being. "I do not normally say that in court," added she, but it is crap. Benjamin froze. His appearance was more perplexed than indignant. I simply wanted to know math, he stammered. But the damage was done. The judge did not get angry anymore. She was disappointed. What was seen as a legal case had now become a tiresome circle of AI-driven nonsense. Even the lawyers, clerks, officers who were all present in that courtroom had witnessed something surreal. A man so firmly convinced by machine-generated logic that he had lost a feeling of how reality operated. The irony was painful. The device that was designed to make humans smarter, AI, had caused him to look completely ridiculous. Rather than vindicate himself with facts and remorse, he had held on to an imaginary calculation. By this time, the air was full of secondhand embarrassment. Even Benjamin appeared to see that his defense had been destroyed. He had placed his trust on a bot to bail him out, and it has only disgraced him. The court was no longer evaluating his crime per se, but silently evaluating his blind faith in artificial intelligence. At last, when the judge took her papers back, her voice lowered. What now would follow would be part punishment, part lesson, and when the sentence was passed, it was mercy and warning.
Has anyone made any threats to you, Mr. Lamprecht? Any promises for you to plead guilty to this charge? Has anybody promised you anything?
None of those.
Okay. You're pleading guilty with a full understanding of what you're doing here today?
Yes, I'm pleading guilty to blowing a .221 and having a blood alcohol content of 0.190.
All right. And you're pleading guilty voluntarily?
Yes.
Does anyone or are you satisfied with your attorney's services?
I guess 5 out of 10.
And he's looked to see if you had defenses, because I'm going to tell you, your argument here is crap. I don't say crap in court, it's crap.
I'm just trying to conversate. I'm not trying to argue.
This isn't a conversate time, okay? This
Okay.
isn't a time to conversate.
Okay.
This is a plea and sentencing in which you showed up to court 18 minutes late.
Sentence and reality check. When the commotion had died down, Judge Mogen threw straight the glasses she was wearing and pronounced the judgment. It was not an angry tone, but a heavy-laden tone that was full of realism. Mr. Lampre, you are facing jail time, fines, ignition interlock, and community service. It was a natural consequence of a third OWI offense, but her further utterances caused the courtroom to silence down once more. One cannot argue with science and AI, she said. It takes years of studying by scientists. AI doesn't go to law school. It would take days before that single line would reverberate throughout the internet. Benjamin stood still. His rebelliousness before had melted away. He was looking regretful. He had never looked regretful before, neither about drinking, nor about how he had managed everything after. Why? Just bring me to jail, he said to himself. No more quarreling, no more fractional speech, only the cold reality falling in. The guards in the courtroom came, and when Benjamin was taken away, the judge even sighed. It was not something to do with a criminal genius she was handling. It was a man who had fallen into believing too deeply in the illusion of technology. She was not saying it to him alone, but to all the listeners. In an era where the world was speeding up towards becoming automated, it was a wake-up call. AI can help, but it cannot excuse. Towards the end of that week, portions of her closing speech became viral. It was referred to as the AI wake-up call America needed. This time, it wasn't only about crime that was being punished, but about clarity. It was a good case, not a tragic one of Benjamin. He had made a drunk driving case a world lesson on machine wisdom boundaries. However, would this have been prevented in case AI was legal advice regulated?
What I will do is I will follow the IDIP guidelines. Despite all of the issues in this case, I'm going to follow the IDIP guidelines. I'm going to assess $1,911 in fines and fees with an additional $10 blood draw fee, 45 days in jail, 24 months of ignition interlock device to be placed on any vehicle you drive. Doesn't mean you need to own that vehicle. If you're going to borrow your mother's vehicle to go down the street to the gas station, it must have the IDIP in it, or the interlock in it, or you may not drive the vehicle. 24 months of revocation of driver's license, OWI assessment and driver safety plan, 75 hours of community service. If you wish to convert the 75 hours to additional jail time, you can do so. Talk to Ms. Anderson. She will ensure that the court gets a letter, and you must pay it's an additional 8 hours of community service for 1 day of jail time. So it's an additional $18 a day that you would need to pay if you wish to convert any community service to additional jail time. You must report immediately report to jail. And that means that you will have to go sit 48 consecutive hours before you are eligible to be released on monitor. I'm going to tell you, this is where I'm going to be very clear with you, Mr. Lamprecht. I take no excuse. If you are going to be released on monitor, you must prepay at least 30 days in advance. If you are even 1 day late on payment for a 30-day advance, you must sit in jail. You don't get additional time. This is where I'm very serious. You blow even a 0.00000001 with anything with alcohol, 0.00001, that's a violation to me. You will be immediately terminated off of the monitor. You will immediately report to jail, and you will sit the whole sentence, no good time, no Huber. I do not take, I was near rubbing alcohol. I do not take, I ate bang bang shrimp. I do not take that I ate tiramisu and it was made with real alcohol. Okay, I take no excuse.
Bigger problem with AI in courtrooms. It was absurd, and yet Benjamin told the story that revealed a horrifying fact of our contemporary world. His mistake wasn't unique. Thousands of US citizens have now resolved to seek AI chatbots' advice in law matters, including drafting agreements and defense positions. What they fail to know is that these systems are constructed to produce language and not justice. They lack a sense of context, law, and morality. They are unaware of the difference between reasonable thinking and disastrous fake news. AI is threatening because it is confident. A chatbot does not have hesitations when it writes. It never says, "I'm not sure." It is merely eloquent, insidiously, and frequently fallaciously. In law courts, where a single one digit can turn a person into a free man or a jail inmate, that is not just dangerous, but fatal. The defense of AI developed by Benjamin Lampre turned out to be the ideal illustration of what occurs to machine confidence and human ignorance. The bot was not aware that it was deceiving him. It was not familiar with the blood alcohol standards or the outcome of a wrong interpretation. It merely reacted according to patterns, but not principles. And this was no longer science fiction, but it was being done in actual courts. Others were even suing with chatbots or writing appeals or convincing fines. The case in which Lampre was involved became a cautionary note that was circulated beyond the headlines. Lawyers and judges began to think that the use of AI tools in legal advice should be regulated. Are they supposed to need disclaimers? And is it even permissible to include them in the course of defense preparations? No longer a matter of drunken inaccuracy on the part of a single man, but of the precarious converging point of technology and truth. The larger perspective was evident. The more we are ready to have machines do the thinking on our behalf, the simpler it becomes to have them think us to our destruction. But was this case so that the lawmakers began to reconsider the use of AI in justice?
He has a job, he has a life, he is there waiting for him after he's done here today, which is all a positive thing. It's all about rehabilitation. OWIs are very serious. I don't make the law. The legislature makes the law. I don't determine the science. The lab analysts who go to school for years and years and years and years and years, the lab analysts, they learn science and they learn how to read scientific data. So they are the smarter ones in the OWI matters. I know the law, I see the law, I read the law, I enforce the law. I ensure that that the community is protected in certain ways. OWI is, again, serious. You're putting yourself at risk. You're putting others at risk. The fact that you blew a 0.221 at blood alcohol content from blood at 0.19 is serious, especially given
190. Sorry for interrupting.
Don't interrupt me again. You interrupt me again, and I will hold you in contempt. I will hold you in contempt, and I will ensure that you have more jail time than what's being sentenced here today. All right?
I like you and you're a fair judge. I'm not trying to piss you off at all.
Then stop talking.
Okay.
I need to ensure that the public is going to be protected, and that means to ensure that you've learned a lesson, you're rehabilitating, you've done the IDIP program. That's a positive program. It's taking you more than most to do that program, but you've at least completed the program, which is positive. You're going to have the ability to get your license back or get an occupational prior to the end of your revocation. Your attorney is very correct. The next OWI will be a felony. The one after that is mandatory minimum prison sentences. So it's very important that you figured it out now and that you're not going to engage in this type of behavior before.
The aftermath and internet reaction. When the courtroom footage finally hit the internet, it spread like wildfire. Within a few hours, millions had watched the clip of Benjamin blurting, "An AI chatbot told me the math was wrong." It was the kind of moment the internet lives for, a perfect storm of absurdity, curiosity, and uneasy laughter. Reddit blew up with jokes like AI, alcoholic intelligence, and when ChatGPT becomes your lawyer. TikTok creators reenacted the hearing, complete with wigs and fake courtrooms. Twitter, or whatever people were calling it that week, was flooded with memes of robots in judge robes and calculators pounding gavels. But beneath the comedy, there was something unsettling, a creeping realization that we might be trusting machines more than we trust ourselves. Lawyers posted warnings, "Don't ever take legal advice from a chatbot." Some even coined a phrase for it, the Benjamin effect, when people mistake confidence for competence. Soon, news outlets ran the story. Ethicists and professors joined the debate, pointing out how AI can sound perfectly reasonable while being completely wrong. Law schools turned Benjamin's case into a discussion topic on the limits of digital dependency. For Benjamin, though, it wasn't theory, it was hell. Strangers mocked him. Reporters camped outside his house. His mugshot was everywhere. What began as a drunk driving case had become a meme about misplaced trust in technology. Yet his downfall forced a reckoning. It reminded people that AI doesn't make us wiser. It only reflects what we feed it. In the end, Benjamin's story wasn't really about him. It was about us. All of us chasing easy answers, forgetting that thinking takes effort. The lesson for everyone using AI. Benjamin Lampre's story isn't just about alcohol. It's about accountability and the growing temptation to let machines think for us. He didn't just drive drunk, he drove blind, trusting a chatbot more than his own sense. And while it's tempting to laugh at his mistake, the truth is most of us aren't that far off. We lean on AI for everything. Homework, health questions, taxes, business plans, even matters of the heart. It responds instantly and with confidence, which is precisely the problem. It doesn't understand the truth. It only predicts patterns that sound like truth. When Benjamin cited AI math in a courtroom, he became a walking symbol of modern dependence, smart tools used in foolish ways. AI doesn't share blame. It doesn't care if you misunderstand it. It simply mirrors the chaos and bias it was built from. And here's the part that should scare us. If we stop questioning, verifying, or thinking critically, then AI won't have to outsmart us. We'll surrender our judgment voluntarily. Benjamin's crash and burn moment should be taught in every school, not as a joke, but as a warning. Because his story mirrors a growing illusion, mistaking confidence for correctness. As AI grows sharper, faster, and louder, our job isn't to fear it, it's to stay alert, to ask questions, to double-check, to remember that technology is supposed to help us think, not replace us. Benjamin's sentence might end in months or years, but the verdict on the rest of us is still pending. Are we thinking freely or just echoing what the machine says back? Ultimately, it was not about alcohol, math, or even the law, but misplaced trust that was the subject of the story by Benjamin Lampre. A man sought justice in a machine, and it gave him humiliation rather than liberation. Nevertheless, his example left the world with a painful fact. AI can be smart, however, it is not wise. The boundary between help and power is becoming more indistinct than the legislation can follow. And when people begin to believe what AI says is the last word, without question, out of context, we could be witnessing even more courtroom tragedies in the future. Next time, then, when you pose an AI a serious question, one such that is about your health, or your job, or your future, remember this story by Benjamin. Since a machine can give you one wrong answer, which can cost you even more than freedom, it can cost you your reality.